Shabbat Shalom, Parashat VaYigash. There's a famous story about an old synagogue in the middle of nowhere when the rabbis reads the portion and he begins to the part when we read last week when Joseph is being sent away to his brothers. Jacob called Joseph and says, "Go to your brothers." There's an old lady in the back seat that stands up and says, "Don't go, Joseph. I told you last year and the year before, they want to catch you. They want to sell you." It's a joke that symbolizes the dramatic moment we're going to read about this week. When last week stopped and we were in the middle of a conversation between the brothers and Joseph, it was an intense moment. And in the intense moment was braked. And now we had all week to reflect about it. And this week, we're going to jump into the main subject, the confrontation between Judah and Joseph. VaYigash elav Yehuda. And Judah came forth to Joseph. He has harsh things to say. He's going to confront his brother. He's going to make an end for the story. Why they had to stop here, I don't know. I have many other questions. And that is not the right time to open all of them. Joseph, you're going to reveal to the brothers in a second. Where were you? Why did you go through all this madness and all the questions and all the investigation? Joseph, why didn't you send a letter back home? At least telling your father that you were alive. You were the prime minister of Egypt, basically. You had the powers and the ability to send him a message. Answer those questions to yourself. I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm going to try to figure out the most deep emotional reaction possible. In verse 25:8, Joseph gives us a sentence that literally can change people's life when you think about it. After everything he went through, after the disaster of being sold by your own brother, nobody can recover from that. Joseph is not anybody. He's able to see the bigger picture and he says, "So it was not you who sent me here, but God who has made me a father to Pharaoh." He reflects about the story, and what he realizes is that you, my brothers, you weren't part of it. You were only God messengers. And I follow God and I believe that what God brought us in this moment was the reality I had to go through. I'm not upset because of you. You're nothing. You're only tools in the God of the Almighty. There's a lot of missions being sent here in the story of Joseph. Jacob is sending Joseph to his brothers. The brothers wants to send Joseph, and then Reuben stops them. They don't kill him. Then Pharaoh comes and sends Joseph from the pit to solve his dream. Jacob does not want to send Benjamin. Joseph insists that they're going to send Benjamin. Joseph sends to his brother wagons filled with all the good things of Egypt. And Jacob sees those wagons and he understands that God or Joseph sent it to him. The message that needs to be understood from all this messaging and sending things is that all of us, we are part of a story. Sometimes we are being sent. Sometimes we have a mission in place. And that's Joseph. Wherever he goes, and he has a lot of power and a lot of abilities, and he's going to be in charge of different stations, different emotional moments in jail, in Potiphar's house, in Pharaoh's house. He has all the abilities, all the capabilities, and he doesn't feel he's doing anything with his might. It's all God. Whenever he's being asked, how do you do it? It's God. How do you solve the dream? It's God. How do you manage this? It is God. Joseph is filled with recognizing that God is the leader. He has the power. He has the might. Joseph should be forgetting God. He was abandoned. He could have said, look what God did to me. But he doesn't. From the moment he's being thrown to the pit, he sees God in every step of the road. Our sages say that those camels that took him from the pit to Egypt had good smell. Who cares? You're being tossed away. You're going to be sold as a slave. Yes, I'm going to have bad things in my journey, but it's all God. And God also took a minute, so-called, of a consideration to give me good smell on the way. Remember the lady who sends this message to Joseph? Why did you do that? I think that's the message. Every year we read about the story, and every year we hear about how the brothers are going to sell Joseph and all the things that are going to come from it. That's a lesson. When you read the story and you just say, okay, that was an interesting story, I know it, my kids know it, everybody knows it, that's one thing. If we can take a moment and not to repeat it, but to relive it, take something from the story. And that's what I want to take. Whenever bad things happen to us, as individual and as nations, Joseph's point is the most important point. This is not you who sent me here, but God. When we believe that God brought us, takes us, shows us, leads us every step of the road, everything is clearer. We can see God Almighty in every step. Sometimes there are negative steps, sometimes there are positives, but it's all Him. It's not you, the person who cuts me in the road. It's not you, the person who made me suffer. None of it exists. It's only God's reflection and trying to show me how to live my life in a better way. I have a mission. I have a path. I have a way. One way or another, I'm going to get there. If I'm going to grab situations from life, if I'm going to understand learning that from the verses, from stories that I hear, I can be smarter and wiser and make sure not to fall again to those pits. At that moment of reconciliation between the brothers, we stand here in times of war, when all the people of Israel came together, reminding ourselves, brothers forever. When they're fighting, when there are disagreements, and they're going to be, and they will be in the future, don't ever forget that. Don't throw yourself to the pit again. We are brothers, and we're staying that. Shabbat Shalom.